Welcome back to the second part of this carving video, the carving part of the carving video. It'll probably go on to number 3. So in this section we're going to do a little bit of both ends. We're going to start at the bottom, at the foot or the collar, and we're going to do the back cuts. 90% of the time, 80% of the time, you're going to start a carving by basically back cutting or cutting your guideline, and this will give you a nice clean way to remove some material so that you can do shaping cuts. In this case, he's cutting all the way down, or almost down, to that lower turn part that you see on the main part of the shaft there. I guess it'll be to your left, just past that ridge. And he's going to go around the whole thing, cutting first one side, then the other. You can see that he's picked a chisel that very closely matches the curve. Although that is a compound curve, there's more than one part to that curve. It's not a true diameter of any sort, and so he has to twist just slightly to make the one chisel fit the whole curve. And of course it's a little bit larger than his chisel, so he has to make 2 cuts. This is a common situation that you'll run into. You've got a number of different sized chisels, and you're never going to have every single chisel to fit every curve just like you like it. So the obvious answer is to twist. What you do, you saw him kind of go in at an angle and then twist the chisel slightly as you rock it, and that will give you enable you to twist it around just enough. Now you don't want to go too far with that, because it'll give you some ugly cuts. At this point he's removing the waste from this relief. He's going to cut down again. He's not going to go all the way absolutely flush. It's going to be so close to flush you won't hardly know the difference, but it still has to have room to clean up, so that it will in the end be flush with the lower part of that relief. But he's using the smaller chisel to get in there. Notice how sharp the chisels are. That's going to be your key tool. We did get a shot of the jigsaw. This is just grab the old jigsaw and go to it. There'll be some sanding involved, and so it's not really a problem. Use a relatively fine tooth blade. It's a little thin right there, but I definitely leave enough on the very bottom of that ridge, say an 1/8 of an inch, 3/16, full of an 1/8 of an inch, somewhere around an 1/8 of an inch at the very tip, so you won't have a problem with it breaking off. Rarely have a problem unless it was to fall off a table or something. Now he's doing a little bit of shaping on this, and notice his fingers are out of the way when he does that. You always be very careful. These tools are sharp, and you can see how this is sugar maple, and it tries to, as you put the pressure on it, it tries to stop. You want to keep the chisel moving at all times. You don't want it to stop in the midway, or you have a little lump in your carving that you'll have to spend some time either with the chisel or sanding to remove. But as he goes along here, he'll definitely keep his fingers out of the way, not just of where the chisel is, but where the chisel is going to be when the chisel slips through the wood as the chisel goes. You know, especially if it slips uncontrollably by mistake, slip of the wrist. Here he's back cutting again. This gives it a nice little, as far as your visual shadow, it gives you a nice dark spot so you can tell how deep, you know, that the depth of the carving, that it does have good depth to it. You don't want to have too much, but you want to have enough to define what you're doing, so it has it doesn't look weak, it looks strong. Carving like this needs to look strong. So here he is coming in and relieving that edge. First he did the outline cut, and now he is just relieving that, and it's actually going down deeper right at the edge there. He's actually like pointing the chisel down. As you can see, it's making it relatively deep. It's probably maybe not quite 1/8 of an inch, but as it gives it shape, it gives it a nice little hard edge line when you're looking at it on the table. And there's going to be some sanding involved with this, but not too much. You know, you don't want to spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of sandpaper, or even just removing that many carving marks. You don't want to really see the carving marks, having them jump out usually, but you do want to have a nice shape to it, and it's nice. And I'd rather see, you know, the carving mark than something sanded so smooth where you can't really see that it's actually been hand carved. And here he is outlining again. A lot of outlining as I'm giving you a view of looking straight down on the chisel, right down on the chisel's end. You can see, if you can look between his hands at what he's carving, that there's that overlap, which is very important. You know, if these leaves are all independent of one another, they just don't flow, they don't look, it doesn't gel. The whole design just looks awkward. I probably know that from the first time I did one. I probably started off wrong, but you know, you can tell pretty much right off that that's not the right way to go. This is a nice little detail at the top. You know, how do you finish off an end like that? You need some kind of little detail to make it look natural. He's almost chiseling straight into the end grain at this part. The whole time that he's been moving up from the outer rim of the bell, he's been going with the grain. There's been no problem. That's because of the way the wood was glued up. It's got nice grain to work with, easy with the grain to work with. But as he comes up to the top of the bell, he's almost going completely into the grain. He's going with the grain as long as he's moving in the direction of coming from the bottom of the bell up. But when he gets up to the top and he moves the other way, he's going against the grain. And that's always something to be real careful with. And you need a very sharp chisel, and anytime you want to try to work against the grain, or it's almost impossible to work against the grain, but like when you're moving at an angle to the grain to try to keep from working against the grain. And at this point, he's just making these channels up to where he can get down in there and clean up that relief. Here he is working that down in there, getting right up in that corner where they're overlapping. That's a very important place to see that definition where that leaf comes out past the other leaf. And each time one leaf overlays the next, you're going to have a little place there, and that needs to be well defined again, or else it'll look not so hot. Again, a real sharp chisel, a very sharp chisel, will give you a nice clean cut. You can cut relatively deeply and not have to worry about too much jagged edges and problems. That nice straight down cut that outlined the work it really comes in handy when you go to do your relief there, because you don't have a lot of pieces hanging up all around the edges, and that can cause a lot of extra work. And it makes it not so fun when you spend all your time cleaning up all these little pieces that are hanging off everywhere. It's nice to be able to just go ahead and smack that thing down on your outline stroke, and with a nice clean chisel. You don't want to drive it to China, but you definitely want to have it deep enough so when you come back with this excavation right here,